Alright, so we're going to get a little early head start on some of my pepper reviews, and I'm going to stitch these all together right down to the taste test. But this one's not coming from seed right now. It did come from seed, but this plant's already been overwintered, and this is already its second year on this plant. And so we're quite past that stage. You can see a lot of these other plants are young, so I'm going to film those now, and you'll get to see the early view of them. But this plant is already established and old, and we're going into the flower stage, and we'll soon be into the pepper stage. So I want to get this on camera now. So let's take a look at this plant. First of all, this plant is called the CGN 1919-8. It's the Eximium. I don't know the right way to say that, but that's the variety. It's Capsicum Eximium, if you want to say it correctly. So this stem right here is the stem from it. You can see it's not a very big stem, but it's kind of woody. So it's already an old plant, and it's a very vigorous plant. They say, from what I read about the Eximium, it's one of the easiest of the landrace varieties of peppers to grow. When you start getting into exotic varieties of peppers, they become much more difficult. So they say that this is one of the easiest ones to grow. I don't know if I can necessarily agree with that, because this plant struggled with me for the first year, and I had to winter it over and bring it out to this point in order for me to get this far where it's flowering. I'm going to show you some of the flowers and the buds, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But I wanted to show you the stem part of it first, so you can know what to expect. You're going to get a woody stem on it. Eventually it gets woody, and then it becomes like a big bush. Now this whole plant right here, see that whole thing moving around? Now that's the whole plant. There's other plants around it, There's other stuff here that's not part of that plant, but this is all part of it right here, and these stems. This is all new growth that came up. So what it looks like when it's when the flowers are coming out. Okay. Let's see if you can. Okay, when the flowers are coming out, that's what it's going to look like. You're going to see a bunch of these sticks coming out of one node. And it's kind of unusual, because usually peppers only put one, maybe two peppers out of a node. From what I've read, these can put out as much as a half dozen out of one node like that. They can just pop right out on you. Now most of them right now are only putting out one or two per node, which is what I would normally expect. But yeah, as the plant matures and the summer goes on, this is probably going to be putting out half dozen, maybe even more per node like that. All right. So expect a lot of them to come out of each node, and every time that node splits and two nodes come out of that node, they're going to put out more peppers and more, and it's just going to keep going. All right, so let's take a look at the flower. Let's see if we can get a good view of that flower. Okay, that's the flower to it. Very beautiful flower for a pepper flower. Very beautiful, very different in its characteristics. It's got a very unique look to it. That's one of the ways we identify peppers species-wise, is through the flower. So it's good to always videotape your flowers so you can show people what the flowers look like, because that's how we identify them. And here's some of the look of what they look like. Can't tell if you're blurry or you're not blurry. Can't tell. Looks like you're blurry as heck to me. If you look at that, that's what they look like. If you look at the cap on this thing, if you look at the crown, the cap, the calyx, whatever you want to call it, it's very different looking than the normal calyx you would see on regular peppers. So the calyx is very different. It's a very interesting plant. This thing has a lot of different identifiers to it that make it really a fun plant to grow for people who are into growing peppers. This is a real fun one to grow. And as far as the leaf on it goes, you can see it's a very narrow leaf on it. See how narrow that leaf is? The leaves on them? Very small, very narrow. Yes, there were larger leaves on it when it was younger. It did put out larger leaves, but they weren't bulbous shaped. They weren't like shaped like a heart, so to speak, or anything like this. See how broad that is? It's nothing like that. This is very narrow in its design. Very, very narrow. And as far as the stem goes on it, there's no hair on it. It's not a pubescence. Now, that's why we call the capsaicin pubescence the capsaicin pubescence. It's like pubic hair. That's why they named it that. So it's not hairy like a pubescence. But even though other plants may not generally have hair on them, some of them do, and they're not pubescence. So that's why I always bring that up. Is it hairy? Does it have fur on the stem? Some plants from different species sometimes exhibit hair. This particular species, the Eximium, one of the Eximiums, this isn't the only Eximium. There's several Capsicum Eximiums. So there's several different species out there. But this is just one of those species. There's only a few species of peppers in general that there's only one species known. All right, this isn't one of them. There's actually a couple Eximiums. So there are other ones that there's only one plant known in that species category, and they're very difficult to get seed for those. But the stem is waxy smooth. There's no hair on it at all. And you can see like what the tops look like. They're very thin and narrow, less like a wild type pepper. Try to get you in frame here. You can see what the tops look like. That's what they look like. Just a gorgeous plant. And once the fruit comes out, before I pick them, we'll pick them and we'll do a taste test. But I just wanted to give you an early look at it, what the flowers look like, because I really do believe that's really important when I do my reviews. A lot of times I miss them, and it's like it's hard to time it, so I have to record them in different segments and then stitch them together. That's really the only way I'm going to get the flower, then the plant profile, and then the taste test, and then a review. So anyway, that is your review for the Capsicum Eximium CGN 19198. And if you like this video, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.